I remember walking these same streets. I remember walking North Street, West Market. I remember walking behind here on Crosby, going to Harris Elementary, riding my bike throughout the rest of the city. So when people ask me why a school, that's part of the reason why, because I know exactly what these 240 kids are going through. The kid growing up in the inner city, and me specifically growing up here in Akron, Ohio, being underprivileged and feeling that you could become a statistic. By me being able to put something like this together, I want people to know that these kids should still have the same opportunity as everyone else. And that's what's most important.
That is NBA superstar LeBron James in 2018 at the opening of his I Promise School in Akron, Ohio, his hometown, a public institution that is designed to help underprivileged children. The I Promise School is dedicated to students who already are falling behind and in danger of falling through the cracks. Not the first time James delved beyond the world of basketball. His remarks about Donald Trump pitted perhaps the most recognizable athlete in the world against the commander-in-chief, and his political commentary drew the ire of at least one conservative pundit who famously advised the future Hall of Famer to, quote, shut up and dribble. Joining us now, New York Times bestselling author Jeff Benedict. His new book, titled LeBron, chronicles the basketball star's evolution from athlete to activist. Jeff, it's great to see you. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you. Good morning.
I was when LeBron was playing in high school at St. Vincent St. Mary, I was a sports producer, and I remember going to one of his games, and he was 16 or 17 years old. The game was on ESPN. There were NBA scouts in the crowd. Yeah. Jay-Z walked into this high school game. I think it was in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I remember thinking in that moment, there's no way this guy could ever live up to this. I actually felt bad for him. This is too much. And my God, he's gone on to be even more than anyone could have expected of him.
Those weren't high school games.
Yeah.
I mean, LeBron's been selling out arenas since he was 16 years old. And you think about the burden of that is it's hard to imagine being that and compared to Michael Jordan when you're still in high school.
Yeah.
It was a huge burden, and I think LeBron has shouldered it unlike any other athlete we've seen. There's nobody, not even Tiger Woods, who had that much expectation placed on them as an adolescent. And LeBron's now 38 years old, 20 years into his career, and he's got the squeaky clean record. He's been the perfect role model for since he was 16 years old.
And Sports Illustrated famously called him the chosen one on the cover at 16 years old, which sets the bar pretty high. So you get into, in the piece, a lot of what he's done off the basketball court. Michael Jordan was his hero, like most basketball players, famously kind of stayed out of politics and activism over the years, although more active recently. At what point did LeBron say, I'm going to cross that line? That stuff is important to me as well.
That's an easy question to answer, because we can just look at if you look at the Beijing Olympics in 2008, in the run-up to those Olympics, for 2 years, LeBron was criticized loudly for not speaking out about China's human rights record. The other person was Steven Spielberg. They were the two targets. Spielberg, because he'd been brought in to choreograph the opening ceremonies. LeBron, because he was the most visible athlete from America. Eventually, Spielberg actually stepped away from the Olympics because of how much pressure there was. LeBron stayed. He didn't speak out against China. But right after those Olympics, Jay-Z approached LeBron about performing with him at a concert that was to support Barack Obama. It's the initial foray into politics for LeBron, but it's slow. And I think that 8-year relationship with the president, being in the White House, not just when you win championships, but for other reasons, working on his health care plan, learning slowly, but importantly, how to actually do this. By the time Barack Obama leaves office 8 years later, LeBron's a very different person in terms of understanding how it works, how to use his platform, and use it in an effective way.
Rev, I know you've worked with LeBron on some things, and as Jeff writes in the book, in terms of being sort of an icon in our culture, LeBron's more like Muhammad Ali, really, than he is Michael Jordan.
You know, it's interesting. I was thinking when he was talking. One night, many years ago, when LeBron was just coming up, I was at the Havana Club where they smoke cigars here, and Michael Jordan was there with us. We talked. We had a mutual friend. and LeBron was playing on the TV set. You could see him, and Jordan, to my surprise, looked up. He said, "You see that kid, Rev? He's got it." And I'm not a big sports fan. That's why I started paying attention. But then as he became what he became, he was different than Jordan. He would become involved. I will never forget in the middle of us trying to deal with the Trayvon Martin case and could not get George Zimmerman arrested, LeBron stood up. He made a big difference for us nationally, because then it was not just the activists, the expected ones of us. This was LeBron, who was then playing in Miami, that would put on a hoodie. And he became, it's interesting you said it, he became, like, for my generation, what Ali was, what Joe Louis wasn't for my mother's generation, who really didn't take big stands until later in life. And I think that there will always be the arguments in history of, was Michael Jordan remaining the better than LeBron? But in terms of human and civil rights and political empowerment, LeBron has far outdistanced anybody that got to the level he did. And he did it without any of us cajoling him. He did it.
And Mark, by stepping through that door, LeBron made it possible for all the other guys in the NBA to say, okay, LeBron's doing it, we can all go do that.
Yeah, it's not just, I mean, yeah, he's obviously had an evolution over the years, as Jeff alluded to, but he, yeah, I mean, it's been kind of a culture-wide in the NBA. I mean, there's an expectation that athletes in the NBA right now will speak out, and you have, you know, Kevin Durant and, you know, LeBron, and just, you know, you sort of go through the league, and as you saw, like even in the bubble a few years ago, which was during the George Floyd summer, just the activism happened kind of organically, and even though, you know, LeBron was part of a cast of a large group, it was, you know, very much around his example.
What's your sense, Jeff, of where he goes? I mean, he's still averaging 30 points a game and leading the Lakers into the playoffs. They probably shouldn't even be in the playoffs, but LeBron's there. What's your sense of what his post-basketball career might look like?
Well, I'm going to point to something he did that I think signals what it could be. When Donald Trump was running against Hillary, and there's almost no time left, that tape came out about the things that Donald Trump had said about women that got leaked. And his response to it was, oh, that's just locker room talk. And LeBron was the first athlete to step up and say, I have a mother-in-law, I have a wife, I have a mother, I have a daughter. We don't talk like that in our locker room. Just the way he delivered that message, he never used Trump's name. He didn't attack anybody. It was just this incredibly powerful moment where just that statement, it's like, wow, now that's a leader. So I think in terms of what he could do after, I mean, he could do anything he wants in entertainment, but there's another lane that could be open for him, and I think he'd be, that would be something.
And Donald Trump attacked him in that moment as well. And I think, wasn't the response, you bum, quite simply? Or was that was a different moment?
You bum was when he defended Steph Curry.
Right.
And that's another thing about LeBron. He'll defend his friends.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a fascinating book. It's titled LeBron. Jeff Benedict, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Good to see you.